all, my name is Haley Comet and welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet where we discuss all things astrology. And today, eclipse season, November, December 2020, how to prepare for it and what themes are to be expected. Yes, it is eclipse season, which is kind of synonymous with everyone acting a little bit bonkers. So always to be forewarned is to be forearmed. So I'm prepping you with all the tips who will feel it the most and what you can expect within your life. Before I dive in, if at any point in this video you gain any bit of clarity or insight, I would so appreciate a like, a subscription if you feel so called. It really helps me to keep these cosmic videos coming. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Eclipse season 2020. So first, let's dive into some overall eclipse survival guide tips. Eclipse tips. Yes, survival guide for how to cope during eclipses, because let me tell you, it is a very heightened emotional time of dramatic endings and powerful new beginnings. Everyone gets a little more wacky. Eclipses are astrologers' busy season because everyone is considering rapid changes within their life. They're wanting to move to Bali. They're wanting to break up with their fiance. Everyone's contemplating huge shifts within their life, and people just are a little more wacky, and we're not really using our brains. So really have grace with other people, have grace with yourself, whether it's on the highway, being super mindful around people who are really frantic and frenzied. It is eclipse brain. So try not to have road rage, because I'm sure a lot of people will be absolute jerks on the highway. And also have grace with yourself. If you're contemplating these huge changes, I definitely wouldn't make them before the eclipse. We're all feeling really heightened emotionally, and we can emotionally think this is what's best, but we're not using logic. So my mentor always said, eclipse brain. You'll have people who are coming to you wanting to move, wanting to break up. Tell them to wait a week after the eclipse and you'll see the world drastically differently. Now, eclipses are times of change. I'm not saying that we should just sit tight and try to keep everything the same, but the things that change during eclipses are things that are out of your control. I definitely say if you're into magic or rituals, I personally avoid eclipses. In traditional astrology, they were something that were a little bit more malignant in nature. It's not like a, abundantly aligned time to be doing rituals or like all of these things. It's more so a time that the cosmos are gonna give us and taketh away what needs to be cleared for our path forward. And now this isn't the type of astrology I normally preach, because I do believe that we all are very empowered beings and we can kind of take what the cosmos are giving us to co-create. But eclipses are something that are out of our control, and I would definitely say just chill, lay low, try not to make any huge changes unless they're thrust upon you. If you're being eclipsed, which means some crazy change was thrust upon you, your partner suddenly wants to end things, or your best friend is moving or something like that. Sometimes things are happening and we are being eclipsed, like the changes are happening, and that's a time to lean into the changes and to trust. I mean, the nature of the eclipses in North and South Node is very kind of spiritual in nature. It's about our personal kind of journey forward and what we're meant to learn, and kind of karmic agreements that we've signed up for way before. Do know that anything that is given to you during this time or taken away is part of your own journey, your own spiritual journey. So it's not the time to force your own will. Rather, let the chips fall where they may. Handle the changes with grace. So whenever we look at eclipses, we need to consider whether it is a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse. And so a solar eclipse is on the new moon, and this is typically a fresh new start, a beginning. It tends to be very future oriented. It tends to be very kind of collective shifts of how we're evolving. Whereas lunar eclipses are more so endings, fulfillments, culminations, and they tend to be very emotional, and they tend to be a little bit more personal, like kind of emotional cycles reaching an end within our personal lives. We also want to consider whether these eclipses are on the North Node or the South Node. North Node will be something that's an increase, or something that's more future focused, or kind of hints to the future and where things are shifting. Whereas South Node is more so closure of the past, completion of a cycle, letting go of something. So you always want to consider which node it is on, and if it is a new moon or full moon, because that'll also signal some themes. Next, we'll look at the signs that it involves. We are in the Gemini North Node, Sagittarius South Node, eclipse cycle. So this axis is primarily concerned with information and truth, though opposite forms. So Gemini, as an air sign, is more so about objective facts and figures, and also being a little bit more open, curious, and malleable. Whereas Sagittarius stands with conviction and its personal beliefs and what it stands for and its convictions and the truth. And since it's fire, you know, it's passion, which isn't as objective as air, which is kind of taking a step back. There's been a lot of extremes in regards to media and messages and belief systems, and a lot of really polarization in terms of which side you are on, and each side getting increasingly more intense and extreme, really. And I think this is definitely associated with this axis and each person wanting to live in their personal truth. But at what cost? And can you hold tight to a personal truth when statistics and facts and reason show otherwise? It's also illuminating communities, things that are close to home, where Sagittarius governs faraway places and travel and academia and places that we go to source wisdom. Gemini kind of illuminates the wisdom that can be found in your own backyard, close to you. And I think it's interesting that it's happening at a time that we're all kind of forced to be where we are, because we're not really allowed to travel. Like the South Node Sagittarius is literally taken away the possibility for many of us to travel. So I think these axes are really bringing awareness around where we secure news, how we validate that news, and how it can be, how messages and information can be manipulated based on the belief systems of those it's echoing through. And it's super essential with Gemini to ask all of the questions, and rather than the Sagittarius kind of conviction, like I am right, this is my personal truth, being open to asking questions, to learning, to being a little bit more malleable with the energy in Gemini, rather than having your feet like stuck in the mud, you know, because if we keep doing what we've been doing, we keep getting what we've been getting. And rather than like standing convicted in our own truths, our own beliefs, being open to hearing from other people, hearing facts, hearing figures, hearing things from a more objective standpoint. So that should continue to arise. So I'll be talking about what the eclipse is on November 30th and December 14th, which node they're on, if they're solar or lunar, and what you can expect. So the first eclipse is a lunar eclipse on November 30th. It is a full moon at 8 degrees Gemini. So what do we know about full moon or lunar eclipses? We know that these are culminations, these are endings, and they tend to be a little bit more personal, a little bit more emotional. So definitely the last week of November, expect everyone to be on 10, your friends calling you, just like everyone's gonna be really heightened. If you work with the public, like people are gonna be like on 10, feeling like their personal crisis, they need to let everyone know, like everyone's gonna be a little wacky. And it's on the North Node. So what do we know about the North Node? We know it's an increase, or it's very future oriented. So with this combination, you know, the ending energy of a full moon, or the culmination energy of a full moon with North Node, we know that we can expect some endings, but some endings that launch us forward. For example, the last day at work, because you need to start this brand new career path, or like a culmination of, like, you know, a freelance project that you've worked on, and then it paves the way for a new start. Or even like a culmination of a relationship, like realizing that it really is over, but it paves the way for you to meet, you know, your soulmate or someone that you really, really meant to meet. It's endings that pave a new beginning, and it will be emotional. So definitely take that time to grieve over it, but trust, it's on the North Node. So this ending is actually setting you up for something so much more powerful and so much more aligned. North Node are increased focused and like growth focused, future focused. You'll feel this the most if you have mutable placements, that is Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces, between 3 to 13 degrees. So you can open your chart and just see what your placements are. And if it's around those degrees, this will be something more personal. Of course, look at the house it's impacting. And there could be a culmination, ending, or finale in that area of life, which may seem really dramatic and sad at the moment, but is actually paving for a more positive future. I particularly am kind of course, I'm a little scared of this eclipse. It's exactly on my midheaven, which is the highest point of the chart that governs career, public persona, and reputation. So, you know, I'm dishing out this advice, but I'm right there with you if it's impacting you, and we'll all see how it ends. I would say if you too have it right on your midheaven, what I'm kind of preparing for is some sort of like ending in regards to my like career or my public persona, but something that like kind of launches my career where I want to take things in a different direction. But we'll see. Let's see if I live to tell the tale. When I saw it was at 8 degrees, I was like, and then other themes around the Gemini full moon. So we want to consider, what was the last Gemini eclipse? Oh, that's right, June 5th. 2020. June 5th was when racial tension in the US really was reaching a peak, and people were protesting and no longer willing to deal with this continued slaughter, really, of Black Americans in the United States. And it was a time that many people were protesting, standing up, fighting for justice on this issue that really needs to be a thing of the past. So I do think that with the full moon, there will be some culminations around that time, or something that is more positive in nature about, you know, the world that we want to create, or the nation that we want to create, where everyone is tolerant and open-minded and accepting, which is absolutely the nature of Gemini, is being open to different people, whereas the shadow side of Sagittarius is being kind of a know-it-all, or being stuck in your own beliefs and unwilling to consider anyone's perspective different than your own. So I think this full moon will either bear some news around that time, maybe some significant legislature or a significant win in terms of like the justice system, or in terms of, you know, renovating the police system, something that allows us to move into a more tolerant, open-minded world. Other themes around Geminis are, you know, our personal openness and curiosity towards other people could be a spotlight. It could be a spotlight on the media, on messages that are received. And it could be rather dramatic at the moment, but just keep in mind, this is something that is paving the way for a more positive future, an increase of some sort. The second eclipse is December 14th. It is a solar eclipse at 23 degrees Sagittarius. So what do we think of this combination? So it's a new moon, right? Which we know is something that's more collective focused, something that's more external, that a lot of us feel kind of a harbinger of the future. And on the south node, which is an ending or release. And I really believe that end of November, beginning of Sagittarius, it really could be the end to this ugliness that is racism in our world. You know, I might be being really optimistic that it could really be the end, but I don't understand how it could continue to prevail at this point. And I think these eclipses, especially this eclipse, it's like a new start, this new moon, of closing out the past. And as I mentioned, shadow side of Sagittarius is our commitment to these belief systems, even if they're harming or discriminating against other human beings, not being open to other mindsets or point of view, or seeing things more objectively or more factually oriented. And with the South Node, it's about closing out a cycle, ending this ugly cycle of beliefs in our country and having a new start, because it's a new moon. I would love to see racism end in our lifetime, and for it to be truly a open-minded and tolerant nation for all people. This new moon conjoins Mercury, squares Neptune, and trines Mars. And it conjoins Mercury, so that's a message coming in, a message around closing out a past cycle, because it's on the South Node, but it creates a new foundation, so a new start. This square to Neptune does indicate that we might not be given all the information, or it could be murky, and this could be even where my optimism is coming from. Like, Can this be the end of racism? Can we create a more tolerant world for us all to live in? I mean, that can be very Neptunian, is seeing things through rose-colored glasses. So I do feel like the eclipse, while it will be an end of a cycle, a destructive cycle at that, it could be something that we're not being totally realistic about. But the trine to Mars, that people are open to take action and like fight for what they want and fight for this new start. Those who will feel this eclipse on December 14th the most is those who have mutable placements or angles between 18 degrees to 28 degrees, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces. Aries rising, the first eclipse, which is November 30th, will illuminate your third house. And this could be the culmination of a certification that you've set your heart on acquiring, or it could be a realization like, hey, I'm not excited about my immediate environment. I'm not curious, and what can I do to feel more curious about my surroundings? You also could find your communication is spotlighted, so you could find you are more apt to, take new classes, gain new skills, or, develop more of your writing, your words, perhaps blogging, perhaps putting yourself out there on social media in order to connect and gain more information. The second eclipse will be December 14th in your ninth house, and it could be this crisis of faith, of needing to let go of a belief system or a religion that you have held dear for many years. And it could be something that is a little disarming. I mean, with the square to Neptune, you might realize that you're really wearing rose-colored glasses over this area of your life. It also could be a letting go of a dream that you had for academia. You could have to let go of a dream that you had of studying abroad or living abroad. It's this confrontation with reality and realizing that we don't always need, to get the master's degree and go abroad to gain wisdom. There is opportunities here and now within our life. And it might be a little sad letting go of this dream that you could have had of going abroad, or this dream you could have had for higher education, but trust that what is upcoming is going to be so much more aligned. Taurus rising, the first eclipse, which is November 30th, will illuminate your second house of money that you earn. So you could get a fat paycheck, yes, come through, or you could just get a realization about the money that you do earn. North Node does indicate gain, but it also could represent greed, like going to excess, like being so fixated on more money, more money, more money, that you miss out on truly being grounded and rooted and enjoying every moment. So there could be a culmination around your finances, the income you've acquired. You can most certainly get a pay bump, but there also could be this emotional realization like, holy cow, when did my life become all about money? And then the second eclipse on December 14th will be in your 8th house of resources that come to you from others. And it might be this moment that you need to acknowledge that perhaps your partner isn't able to support you in the ways that you dreamt, or maybe your partner doesn't make as much money as would be, the most comfortable for the two of you to live. Or it could be a confrontation around, the sureness of death. And I'm not saying anyone's going to die in your life, but it almost could be this moment of fearing whatever is beyond and trying to cling to this particular permutation of a life rather than allowing yourself to, move into the next cycle. Because with this axis, a lot of what you're learning at this present moment is how to, acquire more money, how to acquire more possessions. But there could be this moment that I kind of alluded to earlier of realizing, but this isn't enough. What really matters to me? And on the 14th, it might be a kind of confrontation with, what is my legacy? What is my life really about? How do I feel supported by my partner? But it is a new start for you. My Gemini risings. Oh, it is always intense when you have an eclipse in your energy. And for the first one, November 30th, you might experience this full circle moment. And the story is ongoing. The eclipse cycle isn't over, so we're not completely at the end of the journey. But you might get this moment where you look back on the progress that you've made for the past year, and you're like, wow, I'm proud of myself. A lot shifted and changed within my life, but I went out on a limb, and I trusted myself, and I loved myself enough to cut toxic people and people who weigh me down out of my life. Like, wow, I really am that Gemini, aren't I? And it might be really emotional, like a moment of just coming to terms with how, trusting of yourself you had to be to go out on a limb, trust your independence, trust your self-sufficiency, but also this moment of being proud of how far you've come. The eclipse on December 14th will be in your 7th house, and this is other people. And like I say, though it's amazing that you're learning independence, self-sufficiency, and visibility with this eclipse season absolutely teaching you, there's also this feeling of not being able to trust the one-to-one relationships within your life. This eclipse does square Neptune. So you might, although you're working on it through this eclipse cycle, you might still not be seeing people super clearly. You could be trying to see the best in people. However, this eclipse is, with South Node, relationships might be a little disappointing. You might not be able to trust them in that way. And if it's not a romantic relationship, it could be a business partnership, anyone who's kind of one-to-one. And there's this feeling around the 14th of not being able to trust other people, or having those rose-colored glasses that you're wearing when it comes to other people slowly come off, and realizing, wow, no one's got me the way that I've got me. My Cancer risings. So the first eclipse on November 30th will illuminate your 12th house. And I want you to be so gentle. Please don't plan a whole lot, nothing crazy for Thanksgiving this year, because this is going to feel kind of exhausting, honestly. 12th house does indicate this feeling of surrender and rest, and perhaps spending more time alone in meditation or contemplation. And since we have this fulfillment energy of the full moon, you could kind of come full circle in regards to spiritual rituals that you've created within your life. If you started a new, meditation practice, or you've started, communicating with the other side, or getting more into spirituality, definitely carve some time to connect in that way, because it could be this moment of really being fulfilled by your own spirituality and by the comfort of your own solitude. The second eclipse, which is December 14th, will be in your 6th house, and it is an ending of some sort on the South Node, but it's a new moon, so it's like an ending that paves the next step. And with it in the 6th house, you could lose some stream of income, or there could be some sort of argument occur with a coworker. There could be a realization in regards to health that you need to make a new start, make a new decision to start taking care of your health. I would definitely say at this time, please, if anything comes up, make sure that you seek counsel, make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And it could be realization like, hey, I need a new start because I can't keep living this way, treating my body this way. And if your job isn't really psychologically or physically satisfying you, this could be a letting go of that position and opening up an environment that absolutely works for you and nourishes you. My Leo risings. The first eclipse on November 30th will illuminate your 11th house of hopes and dreams, friendships, groups, and organizations. And there could be this full circle moment of looking around at your friend group and being like, wow, I'm actually inspired by the people I'm around. And that's been a focus for you, is ensuring that your community are people that truly uplift you, that you feel inspired by your professional network, by your colleagues, by your friends. And there could be this moment, and you could actually physically be spending time with them during this culmination point of being like, wow, see what happens when I put the work in to put myself out there, put my words out there, network with people within my career that I admire, or put myself out there to different friend groups if I find that I'm not really satisfied by the people that is in my network. And then the second eclipse on December 14th is in your 5th house. And you might find throughout this eclipse cycle, there might be a loss of interest in regards to, just having fun, expressing yourself. It's definitely a time that you can get a lot done in regards to expanding your professional network and achieving and setting new goals. And you might find things that you used to really enjoy, they just don't work anymore. And there might be this moment on December 14th where kind of need to say goodbye to something that you've been forcing. Like, for example, if you always go out just because that's what fun used to be, or you always just try to paint because that's what you used to enjoy doing. There is this energy around having to let go of it because it doesn't work for you any longer, and you don't need to force it anymore. Life is taking you in a different direction. You're evolving as a result, and your version of fun is going to change along with it. My Virgo risings, the eclipse on November 30th will illuminate your 10th house of public persona, career, and this might be a full circle moment in regards to your career. You could get to, a promotion or a pinnacle and then have this emotional realization like, wait, this is not what I want to do at all. They say, don't get to the top of the ladder and then realize that you placed it to the wrong wall, and North Node can be this ravenous influence that can lead to excess greed. And it could be this power quest to get to the top of your career and realizing this isn't quite for me. And it can also go the other way in that you have this emotional realization like, I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing and I want to continue putting myself out there in these ways. The second eclipse on December 14th will be in your 4th house. And this will be this energy around a new start in regards to family. So you might be someone who's never wanted to have a family, and perhaps you realize, like this professional success, chasing fame and chasing my reputation, isn't satisfying me. And maybe I would be, a little bit happier if I kind of organized my life where I would be ready to have children or to build a family in the coming years. And there also could be this feeling around some grief or some loss in regards to family, and not saying that necessarily processing a death, but it could be just processing like, hey, I'm not really around that much. Like, I've been so busy chasing my career that I've lost so much quality time that I could be spending with my family, and maybe I want to let that phase of my life go and have this fresh new start in regards to spending more time with my family that I hold dear. My Libra risings, the first eclipse on November 30th will illuminate your 9th house. And it could be gaining this either mental clarity or emotional clarity around your belief systems or around, your spirituality or religion. That could have been something that you've been really curious about and you've been diving into. And there could be this moment on the 30th where you're beginning to see some rewards by really cultivating a personal meaning and a personal spirituality that means something to you. There could also be this realization in regards to academia, higher education, deciding to take that step, or in regards to travel. But there is, this moment of realization, of excitement for what comes next and what beauty occurs when we make the conscious decision to expand our world. And then the second eclipse on December 14th will be in your 3rd house. And it could be just, this energy around looking at your neighborhood and being like, I'm not really inspired by this anymore. Like, my everyday reality, the people that I see every day, it's not thrilling me. And you could, make a decision to move abroad if you're able to do that at this time, or make a decision to move or to change your environment in some way. But there could just be this feeling of kind of being bored and really seeking a deeper fulfillment out of life. Scorpio rising, the first full moon on November 30th will illuminate your 8th house of resources that you share with others. And you've been learning on this journey how to receive help from other people, whether it's emotional, physical, spiritual, moral. You've been open to learning this. And it's not always easy. Our ego wants to do everything ourselves, but you're realizing, with South Node in the 2nd house, that we're a lot more powerful when we pool resources, when we truly merge and trust other individuals. And it could be, you losing your job and having to lean on your partner a little bit more. Or you could have this realization on the 30th of, wanting to invest in something, wanting to secure a loan, leveraging the resources from others in order to improve your own life. The second eclipse on December 14th will be a new moon South Node eclipse in your 2nd house. So it could be letting go of a source of income that you've come to rely on, or it could be taken from you, but more so this energy around realizing that it wasn't satisfying you in all ways. Like, maybe it was satisfying you financially, but certainly not the other ways that you were looking for, and realizing that's not the path for you. And by you trusting in yourself and taking that path, like, the right path will open up. Not all money is good money. And with the nodes involved, we can get very greedy. And there's this energy in 2nd house of realizing this isn't fulfilling me. Like, I can't, show up in this way any longer.
My Sagittarius risings, it's always challenging when you have eclipses in your sign, and particularly when your sign is on the south node, like just talk to the Capricorns of all this year. And truly, Sagittarians, what you are learning is that we are more powerful when we connect and collaborate with other people. And there could be a realization around the 30th of that truth, of realizing you don't always have to go things on your own way. With your energy, you don't always have to run away and always be free. Like you can lean, depend, and even settle down with other humans. So there could be a culmination in regards to your relationship, whether it's committing deeper, or there could be a culmination in regards to letting that relationship go. But remember, it is on the North Node, so it is signaling that, it's setting you up to meet someone who is much more aligned and connected. The second eclipse on December 14th is in your first house, and it's a South Node new moon eclipse. So it's this interesting blend of a new start, but also a closing out of a cycle. And with South Node in the first house, it can be very confusing. You might not know exactly what your identity is. You kind of look to and depend on other humans, and that's honestly encouraged this time. Seek outer counsel, ask your partners, your friends, further advice on their perspective, because truthfully, you're not seeing it totally clearly at this time, and you yourself might be feeling kind of lost and directionless with your life forward. Let go of whatever isn't serving you and trust that the next leg of the journey is going to be even more beautiful than you can even imagine. Capricorn risings, the first eclipse on November 30th will illuminate your sixth house of day-to-day health and work. And so with this eclipse on November 30th, you might have this, emotional clarity around the work that you've been doing, the service that you've been providing. Now it's up to you. Are you invigorated by your everyday, do you feel like you're being helpful? Do you feel like you're making a difference? Because this energy could very much be either realizing, hey, this is a really good feeling. I really feel like I'm putting my skills into good use for other humans, or this feeling of, I feel like I'm not making a difference. I'm not helping as much as I want to. And it could be an emotional reveal that you want to take your day-to-day working environment in a different direction. There could also be this illumination around health. So a health discovery of some sort that sets you on a new positive path, or a realization like, hey, doing this Pilates every morning is really making a difference, not only for my body, but for my mindset. And this commitment to continue to design your everyday, your routine, your exercise, your food to truly perform at your peak performance. The second eclipse on December 14th is in your 12th house. It's a new moon, south node eclipse, and it could be this energy around a loss of spiritual connection, or perhaps you used to, be super into astrology, or you used to be really into like palm reading or something of the nature, and you're just no longer connect with it any longer, or you feel so busy you don't really have time for it. Don't fret. We go through cycles in life, and you might have, used to really enjoy meditation, really enjoy being in solitude. Maybe this season of your life is about being more available for people in everyday reality, putting your skills into service for other humans, and taking better care of your physical body and not just your, subconscious mind. So trust in these waves and know that that part of you isn't dead, it isn't gone. It's just a cycle of different priorities. Aquarius rising, a lot of your journey with these eclipses is about learning to be open and learning how to have fun and stand out. The first eclipse on November 30th illuminates your fifth house of entertainment, children, fun, and creativity. And you might find this really joyous celebration of life, or perhaps you've tried a new creativity during this time, and this is the time that you show it to other people or just put it out there. And I really want you, Aquarius, your energy is always about letting your freak flag fly and being really individualistic, but I don't want you to conform your self-expression to other people. Like really empower yourself to be radically authentic and put out your expression of creativity as boldly as you want, and don't be worried about what critics are going to say or what anyone's going to say. There also could be this emotional revelation around your children if you have them, or around deciding to have them if you want. And don't feel like it needs to be this big thing. Honestly, sometimes eclipses in the 5th house are just this really huge lust for life moment. Just make sure if you are partying, just be mindful with it. As I mentioned earlier in the video, eclipses do kind of have a malignant energy, and it could just go to excess when it's on the North Node. So definitely celebrate life, enjoy, express yourself unabashedly, but keep it in moderation. And then in the 11th house on December 14th, the eclipse will be in your 11th house, and it could be this letting go of a friendship group that you used to click with, but you feel like you can't really be yourself around. Like you feel like you guys just don't click, and that's okay. We go through different spiels within our life, different phases. So allowing yourself to distance yourself from the opinions of others, the thoughts of others, in order to just do your own thing and not kind of bury your personal openness to life by trying to fit in with everyone else, or being so fearful that your social network will let you go. There also could be this loss of faith in regards to a dream that you had for the future, and just have fun in this present moment, and the next part of the journey will become clear. Just lean in at this time, lean into what feels good, lean into what feels true to yourself, how you feel like you can express yourself, and the next leg of the journey will be made clear. Also lean into flirting. 5th house is flirting, romance of all sorts. My Pisces risings, a lot of this eclipse story for you is about learning that it is more so important to build a life that feels good on the inside than one that looks good on the outside. And the eclipse on November 30th might be this emotional revelation around your family or around your home. If you've been looking for real estate or looking for a home, it could be, finally finding a place that you adore, or it could be moving back to be closer to your family, or just this feeling of love and appreciation for your home. There also could be this kind of loss of faith in regards to your career. You could be feeling, after everything that's gone on this year, on such unshaky territory, like what you've built your career in, like as an industry, no longer exists, or you feel like it's not available for you, or it wasn't as fulfilling as you thought it was going to be. So on December 14th, it could finally, spiritually and physically, be an end to that position or to that particular career, but it's setting you up for a fresh new start. So being open for pivots in regards to your career, your public persona.
My truest kind of eclipse wish for us all is that may we be open to other humans with the energy in Gemini. Remember that we are here to connect and to learn from other people, and not be so fixated in, well, this is my personal truth and this is what I stand for, and this is all, like, this is my personal truth and this is what makes us different, and feeling like wisdom can only be limited to people who are academics or religious people, or like class differences, whereas Gemini is like, hey, we're all people and we can all learn from one another and be tolerant of one another, away from, these belief systems that can keep us apart. Like, we're not so different after all. Even if we have different religions and cultures, can we find a way to connect and to collaborate anyway? And it also will reveal personally more so where you might need to let go of a belief system that no longer works. And maybe it's not as, sinister as the example I gave of racism. It could even be a belief system that you're not worthy, or that you need to stay in the career path that your parents picked for you. And a loss of a belief system can be kind of scary. It can be scary to think of your identity away from, that thing that you've held tightly, like always, holding that and identifying with it. It can be scary. But Gemini is about being curious, being open, being the eternal student, looking at life and being like, I'm so excited for this adventure and to learn and to discover who I am, rather than like Sagittarius with the shadow side, of course, can be like, this is my personal truth, this is my belief system, and being rather rigid in that rather than being a little bit more open. We also could find that we're letting go of a belief system that no longer works and honoring the spirit of curiosity within our life, honoring changes within our life, honoring taking a different sort of messaging or finding a different personal truth for ourselves. So I do think it's going to be a very powerful time. Be mindful of heightened emotions, of lots of people coming to you wanting to make huge changes within their life. and just make sure to take care of yourself. If you're being eclipsed, it'll be changes that you really don't have a say with. So just make sure to have grace in those circumstances. And I'm here for any questions or anything that you may need. My Instagram handle is @HaleyCometAstrology. I do a Monday morning astrology recap, which you're welcome to tune into. You can also DM me if you have any questions. I'm pretty responsive there. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.